All right. Hey, everybody. Javan Bernakevitch here with All Points Design. That's allpointsdesign.ca and Neil Bertrando of RT Permaculture. Today, we're talking about the Oregon State University Permaculture Design course. Specifically, we're talking about the Plant ID and Research assignment. Neil, I think this is assignment 12. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit today about this assignment. We're going to talk about some pieces here that are important, and we're going to go through the process of taking a look at some examples as we normally do, and go through that. So kind of meta conversation first and foremost, as usual. The Plant ID assignment is not to overwhelm. You might have felt that way like the rainwater assessment. This might be very much outside of what you are commonly able to do or what's within your wheelhouse. That's okay. The whole point here is to learn, to grow, to understand, to really understand that there is an international community within biology and plant identification that works on a binomial or a Latin name, and that there are things that you can learn about in your own biome that if you go someplace else, you can translate. You can translate families. You can translate types of ID. For example, mint is usually a square stalk with alternating leaves, or pardon me, with self-similar leaves. So there's all of these little pieces that we want you to pick up here. One of the major things you'll find over and over in this in this video for do's and don'ts is make sure you put it into your portfolio. Don't do a separate Excel sheet, but at the same time, make sure that all the information is legible and easily understood. So I'll show you a couple of examples where people have done that on one slide, they've done it on multiple slides, and the more information you can put here, the better. The more images you can put of the trees you're speaking about, leaf pattern, growth pattern. If you want to put photos of the edible portion or the usable portion, be they leaves for salads or for medicine or barks for dyes or for medicine again or for cordage, all of that helps us understand that you've done some work and you've really understood your site and the plants within it. Neil, anything you wanted to add there?
And I think that, yeah, getting to know the biology of your site, the ecology of your site, and the patterns along which those organisms are classified is a really important skill to improve both your observational skills as well as your pattern understanding of the ecologies that you live in, as well, and to be able to communicate with others outside of those ecologies in a consistent way. So, you know, it's worth taking the time to build that and start to understand the common conceptual threads that have been developed in this field, because you will continue to grow and build on this knowledge. You know, this is asking for 5 plants, where, you know, very commonly a site in a natural ecology will have hundreds of plants of different species. And often in a, you know, permaculture site, you're going to be dealing with at least dozens. So this is just a starter and a primer to get you familiar with the patterns of how to label and organize all this information and understand these organisms more effectively.
Yeah, those are great points. And I think one thing to add to that is when we do a vegetative assay of a site that we're designing or we're looking at, that vegetative assay can be hundreds of plants, can be multiple types of families, can be multiple types of story covers. That really goes into the existing conversation. There's always existing and desired. So that assay usually gives us families to work within. It shows us the climax species or the climax family groups within an ecology. And normally, if we work within those families, we have a high success rate. If we move outside of those families, we tend to have a lower success rate. And some people are under this idea, really illusion, that as long as you put the word permaculture in front of it, you can grow anything you want, anywhere you want. Now, this is an affliction called out-of-zoneitis. A lot of people get it. They spend a lot of time, money, and energy growing a peach tree where a peach tree should never grow. And just remember that what we're trying to do here is understand the site as it is, so that way we can then place things that are going to be winners, big winners. I was taught by an amazing man named Richard Walker, who wrote a great book called Food Forestry North of the 49th Parallel, one of the most experienced food foresters in Canada. I've been doing it for now 35 years. It has some great sites. It has a 3-acre bear pasture that he turned into 7 acres of 7 stories of incredible food forest, nursery, medicinals, you name it, he did it really, really well. And one of the things that's big on his list is, if it's not a winner, it's out. And I want to pass that along right now, because you're only going to get to that idea when you start planting and getting some bummers, where when you get a few plants that really just don't do it, you're going to think, okay, well, let's give it a couple more years. And that's real estate, that's solar real estate, that's soil real estate, that's soil depth real estate, because of course, these are three-dimensional beings that move in space and time, and they can take deep strata within the soil, and that is space, right? The number one competitor of corn is corn. So when we start to do this companion or guild planting, as we're getting into the next assignment, you'll find that harmonizing or working within soil depths is a really important piece. So I wanted to pass that along, because a lot of people think this is about growing that rare tree that you can only find in one place, yet you're going to spend 5-10 hours on that a month just to make sure that happens. So really, this is about understanding the essence of what's in the site already.
Yep, and we want to start you with a from pattern to detail type of perspective, right? So that's again, this assignment digs into the details, but I encourage you to start with the pattern. What are the key climax species, like what Jav mentioned, on your site? What family are they in? What different layers exist on your site within the existing guilds? Is it a tree and a shrub and a ground cover? Is it 7 layers? How closely are they spaced? When you go out and you look at the plants on your site, think about these sorts of patterns, the bigger picture family layer within the classification, as well as the structural patterns that exist currently on your landscape.
And we're trying to kill that desire that I think a lot of people get within permaculture, of going into the permaculture store, pulling something off the shelf and plunking it into the cart, which will go into the landscape. We really want to starve that idea as much as possible. So as we're looking through these different family types, archetypes, structures, as Neil pointed out, just be observational. Don't have it in the back of your mind like, well, how can I fit the blueberry plant in here? Because that's one of those force functions that's going to spend a lot more time and energy than really anything else. So really do keep that in mind as we're going through this process. We're trying to find the things that work, not that take a bunch of work. So I want to start off here with a nice example that I really appreciated. So this was, again, we've seen Andrew DeLong's work from Calgary before. And Andrew, for me, has started to set the standard for this work, because he did what I wanted to see people do all the time, which is add in the photo, add in the leaf structure, and then really start to fill this out. Now, my critique to Andrew is, I know he has this. He's shown it to me that he has it. He's put it into 2 slides. So this slide then connects over to this slide. Now, this is almost illegible at this level. Very difficult to see. I'm going to show you a couple other folks who have done this really well. But 2 things I'd love to see in every single one of your assignment is a photograph, so I know that you know that what this plant looks like, to a leaf structure or a leaf and berry structure to really show us, as this Nanking cherry was done here. And then, moving out, maybe not specifically focusing on just production species on site, but if you do have conifers or deciduous trees that are providing ecological functionality, definitely want to see those as well. Big thing here, want to see your sources, want to see the sources you have here. A lot of people don't put in the notes, but I expect it. Why? Because these are trees and I want to know what you're thinking about them. This is a tree that provides shade in my area. This is a tree that provides a lot of emotional and sentimental value, because this is where my grandmother's ashes were buried. These are the types of things I want to see in the notes. I would like to see them. This is great. So at this one, and I'm pretty sure this is the sea buckthorn. Yeah, it is the sea buckthorn. Need male and female to pollinate, not on site at this moment. So again, this is somebody who went outside the constraints of this assignment, but did a really good job. And I appreciated what they brought here and what they had to say. Neil, thoughts on this one?
Yeah. So I just want to, put it out there to people that we're going to grade you on the specific rubric, what's requested, and that there's things here that have gone above and beyond that. And we encourage you to go above and beyond when you can, because this is about giving you the opportunity to develop your understanding and improve it. And then also to create a database for you to come back to with easy, clear reference that you can share with yourself and other people. So that the plant species matrix really helps you to start creating this database. So I really try to encourage people to organize it in a way that makes it easy to use and sortable if you're familiar with spreadsheets. So one thing I noticed here is almost all of the cells are filled in. And that's something that I request from people, is to make sure every cell is filled in. If you don't know it, then put a question mark in there. Or that way you can, if you need to, you can sort the spreadsheet for question marks. And you go, oh, these are the things I need to look up. So make sure every cell gets some items, a placeholder. If it's not applicable, NA, not applicable, or just something so that I know that you went through each item and thought about it and put something down for it. Another thing that I notice here, it's a challenge when you have a spreadsheet with a lot of columns that spreads across multiple pages, is I have a hard time following which species is on which row. So one thing that would make that really easy to follow would be to color code each row. You can easily put a color in the entire row. And I like to use the lighter colors, like a light green, not something real strong and bright like a bright yellow. And that just makes it easy on the eyes and easy to take in, but also it makes it easy to know, okay, this row is the Nanking cherry because it's light red. And this row is the sea buckthorn because it's light orange or light yellow. And that helps me. You don't have to do that, but it is something that I think just improves the graphic communication, makes it easier for everyone to understand consistently and not make mistakes.
Great points. Great points. Really, any way you can help us understand this site, this conversation, is a better conversation for everybody involved. Cool. So
like this one,
like this one. So this one has a white background, gray background, white background, gray background. Everything's on one page. Almost every single one of these pieces are filled out. Something I don't see here is the sourcing, and I really want to see where you're getting your information from. One thing that I like to do is track down where the false information is coming from. This is great. I'd love to see some photos here. I'd love to see some of those leaf designs, some of the vegetation, things of that nature. But this is a winner by all accounts.
So some things that I see here that I like is that they use common, consistent terminology. The soil, acidic, garden. So when you start to sort and you say, what are the things that take garden soil? What are the things that take acidic soil? You're using the same terms. If you're going to use like some sort of numbers, then put it in. Make sure that it's labeled all their soil pH, and you have soil pH up there. You can use some code with a key that's consistent but allows you to search it. So like the form shrub, tree, herb, tree, and they have like L, VL, M for large, very large, medium, things like that. Again, just make it easy to say, I need a large tree for this site. I have a database. Okay, I just sort where are all the large trees, and then you have at your fingertips some stuff to select from. So that's over time what we want to help empower you to do to build up and use this tool.
So two things I would add there is, if you are going to start to build a common language within the sheet so you can search it into the future, which both me and Neil are recommending, underneath the height and width column, you'll probably want to parse that out so that way you have height and you have width. And normally what you'll do is you'll put the measurements or the units you're using in the header titles, and then you just have the numbers. So if you are looking for something greater than 2 meters, less than 2 meters, be it width or be it by height, you can quickly sort through your growing database. The second thing I would say is that if you are going to be using some kind of abbreviation, legend, or symbols, just make sure you add that into the sheet. This specific one is coming back to me right now, and this was my recommendation to Raul, is to give me that so I can quickly determine and translate this into what he was trying to come across with.
I totally agree. In particular, that's going to be in like the habit and root habit section, because most likely you'll be pulling that off of the key that's provided in the assignment. So take a screenshot of that key and put it into your portfolio. And that way, when you come back and look at it, you're not confused and like, oh, what does THK mean again? Oh, thicket. Okay, it's a thicket forming one, versus, so having it right at hand, having that information clear and right at hand is very helpful, both for us and for you in the future when you come back.
Nice. Great. So this is kind of the best of both worlds. So in this situation, there's one species that's on one slide. So I've got all the information there. It's very simple to understand. They've given me a photo. Almost everything is filled out. Couple of parts here have been missed. So I want you to say edible, don't know, not applicable. You don't know, you don't know, that's fine. But I do want to see every single one of these filled out so I know that you've gone through the process. They put in the notes, which is brilliant. Missing here is the sourcing. Would love to see the sourcing here. Where'd you get this information from? And they've gone down and they've done this on every one. Really nice to see. Really nice to have all of this information here. Lets me know the work that's gone into it. And again, the big thing here is show your work. Show us the work you've done so we know what you've done. And that helps us to understand. This is a great one that was filled out. This last one of wild chives really lets me know that they've gone through the process and got a good sense of what you understand about this plant. Neil?
Yeah, I just want to encourage people to get it to a state of completion. If you can't find information, just put that in there. Like, can't find, or some, select some terminology that makes it clear that you don't know the answer for something and you come back to it, but you at least touched on it. You looked at it, okay, I don't know. I'm not expecting everyone to find every single thing for every plant on here, because there are some esoteric pieces that are asked for in here that aren't necessarily easily available for all plants.
Great. And I think this last one was, yeah. So this is great and good and all the rest of it. Definitely completely filled out. Really like this. Source is missing. Some areas are missing. Of course, other can be left open. It's just a nice catch-all. At the bottom here, put us into some hardiness ratings, gave us a couple of pieces, told us generally where all this information was coming from, would have liked to actually seen it here, or a key. So if each one of these was a key, so Royal Horticultural Society was RHS, and they put it up here to make it easy. That's simple as well. Would love to have seen these photos actually up in the document. I understand why this person did it, because they wanted to get all this information up here. So you do have to make your own decisions here, but I do appreciate their bringing of the hardiness ratings and making it specific to them in the UK. Really great to see that and have that put up here into the UK zone. Because of course, although this course is American-centric, doesn't mean that those of you who are international, Canadian or otherwise, can't make this specific to you, because that, of course, will be more relevant to your work, not only during, but also after the course. Thoughts on this one, Neil?
Yeah, I want to just second that point. If you need to custom tailor something to match your climate or cultural context, then definitely do that. These are all tools, and we don't expect you to necessarily have to use the tool as configured for a USA application, right? Part of the skill of a design that you're developing is to manage the tools in a way that improves them for your own use. So I want to totally support that. If you need to change one of the columns to meet your context, definitely do it. And let us know. Here's what I did, and like he showed with the hardness ratings. I really like this in that he's basically gone above and beyond and built up more of his desired species analysis spreadsheet. So now he's just continued to expand the options that he can have at his fingertips to use for design. And when it comes to doing your design project later, you can come back to something like this and it'll make it easier to do plant selection.
Yeah, great points, Neil. I really appreciate that. Cool. So I think this is pretty much what we wanted to get across here. I really appreciate everyone going through this and starting to talk about these pieces, allowing us to show you exactly what's going on, show you the pieces that are here, and taking this to the level of exploration, really finding the pieces that are important, understanding the pieces that are important, pulling out the pieces that you think are necessary for your work and for the work that you're going to do in the future. Think about this as the first stepping stone. If you're new to plants, you're going to get a good introduction. You're going to walk quite a far way. You're going to be one of those people that randomly IDs things for nobody's benefit but your own, which is great and good and awesome. Those are all the things we want to see. I think commonly people know that we can identify something like 50 or 100 different corporate logos, but can identify maybe 3 plants. So this is one of those assignments that starts to push the tide against that conversation that pulls us back from being consumers to actually being participatory stewards within our environment and the things that produce livelihood for us, literal livelihood. So thanks for taking the time for doing this assignment. And Neil, did you want to end with any meta conversations or anything there?
I want to bring it back to that. Make sure you at least get an understanding of what family the plants are in. The family category is a really valuable one. Eric Tonesmeyer wrote a really good article on it a while back. I don't know if it's linked in the resources, but we could put it in the notes here for the video. And the best way to continue familiarizing yourself with plants is to actually go out and work with them. Go to botanical gardens, look at where they're labeled, go to nurseries and look through different plants and read the labels, walk in the landscape, plant stuff, manage a small garden. Those are the ways that you can continue to build this knowledge in a hands-on manner and not just a spreadsheet-based manner, because the spreadsheet is to help inform your hands-on practice.
Well said. Well said. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you like the video, make sure to click the like button, and we'll see you at the next video.